listen, we were talking about the retaliatory strikes by Israel against Iran. We focused to some degree on their air defense systems, but I'd like to dive a little bit more into some of the infrastructure that they hit, because now there's word that they've essentially crippled their missile production capability. Right, and in doing that, they took out, and as you know, I'm a bit of a expert, world renowned, I suppose, on the production of solid fuel. And one of my favorite topics is planetary mixers. I have no idea what any of that means. Could you please explain all of that to me in a short period of time?
Absolutely. So Israel attacked these planetary mixers. Now, I want you to imagine these mixers are not like your KitchenAid mixer that you have sitting on top of the shelf above the oven. These mixers are about 600 gallons in total size. And it can even go up to like 1,200 gallons in size. And, the whole idea behind these mixers is that they're actually vacuum sealed as well, because you don't want any bubbles forming in your fuel, because if you have a bubble of oxygen inside your fuel, the fuel isn't going to burn correctly, or it's going to hit that bubble. It's going to misfire. That's how you might see, I'm sure you've seen footage of rockets suddenly turn around and go back the other way. If fuel is stored improperly or fuel wasn't mixed properly, that can contribute to that. But essentially, you take the dry stuff like aluminum powder, aluminum perchlorate, and you mix it with the wet stuff like the HTPB polymer, plasticizer, cure catalyst. And you mix that up for a while, and when you're done, you have about 7,500 pounds of castable propellant. So think of it like a very kind of liquid Play-Doh that you can put inside of a mold. So let's say a typical ballistic missile weighs about 52,000 pounds. If you have a 1,000-pound warhead, about 80 to 90% of that missile is fuel. The rest is warhead and the avionics and the actual missile frame. So now you need 47,000 pounds of fuel. So if that 600-gallon mixer can make 25 or 7,500 pounds of fuel, we're talking you need about 6 production runs to just fill up that missile. What Israel essentially did is they took a very complex process and they completely destroyed it, obliterated it, and now Iran's going to have to purchase these mixers, most likely from China, set these things up again, and start this process going again. And that's going to take at least a year.
All right. So you're saying that these planetary mixers are probably on back order, given the state of the world. But so they're going to purchase. Do you know if, in fact, that they had purchased these, the ones that were destroyed, had they come from China as well?
I don't know that, but I would certainly assume that China would be a major manufacturer. I'm sure Germany manufactures these things as well, but Germany might not necessarily sell to Iran.
Do these, this sounds like a strange question, but do these mixers have any other purpose other than just producing this fuel?
I guess you could bake bread with it. You could probably make bread. They are mixers. But from what I understand, look, when you have these mixers set up, all they're doing is pumping out fuel. And there's actually waste. About 150 to 300 gallons of propellant is actually waste that you can't actually use. So you have these things set up and running as you're producing these weapon systems.
Okay. And you would have to assume, right, given what we're seeing now as the dust is settling and we're being able to assess the damage that was done to the Iranian infrastructure, you have to assume that this is going to put a real problem for them, or pose a real problem for them in terms of providing their proxies, in particular Hezbollah, I would assume, with additional weaponry. But to what degree does this impact potentially Russia?
So believe it or not that much. So the only missile other than the Shahed, the only missile I understand that they've sent is the Fath 360, which it's a short range missile. It's about 120 kilometers in range. I don't know how many of those Iran has, and Iran isn't going to tell us. But those things aren't very useful for attacking Israel because it has 120 kilometer range. But they could be very useful for Russia to attack Ukraine with, because you're near the FIBA, the forward edge of battle area, right? So I don't really see this being a problem for Russia because Iran probably has quite a few of these short range missiles available that they can sell. And honestly, they probably will because they need the money at this point.
Okay. Any sense of timing? How much time would it take the regime, the Iranian regime, to get back up to full production, to recover from this attack?
It would honestly take probably about a year for them to get that solid fuel production back on track, unless they could purchase that solid fuel from another state, like, let's say, North Korea, but God knows what their quality control is like.